Hi, welcome to practice number 2 for ARC-189. We're going to be going over some simple tools, and then we'll use those to start our cabin drawing. So we're going to open a new drawing. I had already changed the background color, so I have that correct. I'm going to get rid of the grid, but if you forget how to do that, that's type in options and then go to display colors. It usually defaults to black, and I like white. So say apply and close, and you say okay. The next thing you have to do is type in units, and you want to go from decimal to architectural. If it doesn't show up in feet and inches, you know you're in decimal. So like when I go to draw a line, I'll see it in feet and inches. So our first exercise is to draw a line that's 12 inches long. So I want to make sure that my ortho key is on, and I do that by typing the F8 key or Control F8 if I am on the school computer or on the laptop, and I want to be 12 inches. So just type in 12. I don't need to write feet or inches. It will recognize it as inches. Then I hit escape, and I can double check my measurements always, and I see that I'm 1 foot, which is the same as 12 inches. Then I want to draw a line from the midpoint, and I have my ortho on. You can also look down here. So here's orthos on, here's object snap on, snap to 2D reference point, but I want to do it from the midpoint. So if I type in MID, a triangle will come and I'll know that I'm drawing straight from the midpoint. And if I go up 6 inches and then hit enter, I've got a line that's 6 inches high. And again, check yourself. You can come check your measurements. Now I want to extend that line. I want a 6-inch line down at the other end. So there's 2 ways to do that. I can draw another line. It will recognize the end point of that 6-inch line, and I can draw 6 inches down. But what I've got is I've got one 12-inch line and 2 6-inch lines. I want this to be 2 12-inch lines, so I can highlight those and I can type in join. And join, I've got 2 12-inch lines. There's another way to do it that's probably a little bit easier. Just click that 6-inch line, grab the end bar, and pull down 6 inches. And I have to make sure that ortho is on. And I did 6 feet. I'll come and I'll pull down 6. Now I've got a 12-inch line at the top and a 12-inch line at the bottom. I want you to put a 10-inch circle inscribed at the center point, and it's asking for radius or diameter. So if it's on radius, I need to type in 5. Get a 10-inch circle. Return. Now, it will ask me, the last command I just did was a circle. If I hit return, I get that same command coming up again. And I want you to draw another circle at that center point, but this time I want the diameter to be 2 inches. And that didn't work. Go here. The radius is 5, so we want a 1-inch radius on there. I've got a little circle at the intersection point of the large circle in that cross. Then we have this tool called array up here. There's a rectangular array, path array, or polar array. I'm going to click on polar array, select the object, hit return. So polar array, select the object, it's asking for, and then I hit return, it's asking for the center point, which I'll make it the center of that cross, and I've got 6 items on there. I can play with this. I can go up to 8. I can go up to 88. But play with how that looks. It looks sort of like a spirograph. So I want to go back to 6 or 8 and then leave that. So that's our polar array. And then I close the array. And this all acts as 1 unit. I can at any time click that open. It opens up the array again, and I can adjust what I've got there. So next I want you to draw a rectangle that is 4 feet wide by 2 feet deep. And you can do that either using the rectangle tool or the line tool. So if I come over here, I just type in D, I start going in the direction I want. The length I want is 4 feet. The height is 2 feet. And so now you can see before I even click on it, I've got a 4 foot by 2 foot rectangle. I could have done that with the line commands, but it would take a lot longer. So now I want to go back to this array and I want to do a rectangular array. So it's going to ask me to pick my objects, and what it did was it automatically gave me a 3 by 4 array, which is what I'd like you to have. You can play with the distance between the arrays. And you'll see that some will make it really close together, some will make it farther apart. What I want you to do is I want you to make sure that the array has a distance of 30 inches in this direction and this direction. Right now it's 1 foot there and 2 feet there. So I want you to figure out how to do that. I'm not going to give away the answer to that. There's a couple different ways to do it. All you have to do is click on the array and you're going to play with this between. And it will give you a hint. The between is not the number here, it's the number from here to here. So I'll let you play with that and come up with 30-inch spacing on it. All right, our next part is to learn how to use the mirror command. So we're going to draw a triangle using the line command. Make sure your ortho is on. You can tell it by this little lighted up button down here. I want to come down 2 feet and over 1 foot. And then I need to turn off ortho so that I can close that. If I don't turn off ortho, I won't be able to close the triangle. So now I've got a triangle. Hit the escape key. Here's a mirror key up here. It's got 2 triangles side by side, so we're going to create a mirror of that triangle. So I choose the triangle, and it says specify, and then I specify the opposite corner. Oops. I'm going to mirror, choose the triangle. I've selected the objects. Now select the first point and then the second point. And this is where I want my ortho back on. I can go turn it on or use the F key and add it back on. Do I want to erase my source object, the one I started with? And I say no. But if I go in here, if I delete this line, you'll see that there's a line below it because I have 2 lines there. So let me mirror this again. Turn the ortho key on, hit return. So what I could do is I know I have 2 lines there because I put the triangles right on top of each other, but you might not know that. So there's a command called overkill, which will find lines that are directly on top of each other. So I click the lines to overkill, and I'm looking for optimize segments. That means I could optimize pieces within a line or combine when objects align end to end. So I say OK, and you'll see it said 1 duplicate deleted, 1 overlapping object or segment deleted. So they have combined them, and now this is not 2 separate lines, and there's only 1 line here. So if I wanted to just get rid of the 1 line, I would just highlight that area right there and not the bottom. So that's part 3. Part 4 is to draw another rectangle, and I'm going to type in D for dimension, and I'm going to be 10 feet by 10 feet. So that's a polyline. That's all X is 1 line. I want to offset that 6 inches. And then I'm going to draw another rectangle using the line command that's 10 feet by 10 feet. I'm going over, you see I'm going and grabbing that right edge, so when I draw the line, it'll be perfectly aligned. I'm going to come over 10 feet, down 10 feet, over 10 feet, or I could have aligned with the top one and then come up and close that. So this line right here is 2 separate lines, 2 separate polylines. This is 4 lines. So when I offset this one, if I offset this 6, what I'm going to have is if I offset this 6 inches, is I'm going to end up with the lines crossing over in the corners. So I can go up to that corner and I can trim it pretty quickly. Or even quicker, I can do a fillet and I pick my radius at 0. And then I say multiple, which lets me do fillet over and over again at that radius. And then I can just come and close off each one. So this is 2 lines. This one is 8 lines. Now I want to stretch this. So if I stretch this, I have to pick the whole object on here. So because these are polylines, I either have to pick the whole object coming from this direction or from this direction. I'll come this way, and I can stretch this 24 or 2 feet. For this one, if I stretch and I just pick that end right there, and I say stretch 24, I end up with a break, which I'd have to reconnect. If I do the stretch command and grab from left to right, I've grabbed these upper and lower walls and I hit stretch again and I do 24 and I've got it set. So now you'll see this is still 2 lines and this is 8 lines. Now what I want to do is I want to draw a opening that is centered on this wall that is 3 feet wide. So there's a couple ways to do that. One is I could type in midpoint and find the midpoint. We'll go to line, type in mid, and the midpoint of that line, and bring a line down, and then offset it. 18 inches, because 3 feet is 36, half of 36 is 18. And then I would just come and trim this. Then I want to mirror this down at the bottom or create another opening at the bottom. I could repeat what I just did, or I could extend. Below the trim is the extend button. I could extend those lines down. And then trim again. Or, I'm going to undo that. I could use the mirror command. And I could take and mirror, and I'm going from left to right, so I'm only selecting the 2 pieces that define the opening. So I select the objects, and always look at the bottom, and it's telling you what it's looking for. I hit return. I want to pick the midpoint, so it's perfectly centered on the bottom, and I come over straight. Delete the source object, no, and then I trim that out. So on this one, what I'm going to do is, you can also do a little math. If you don't want to go to the midpoint, I know that the midpoint is at 6 feet. I want to come 1.5 feet over to the left and to the right of the midpoint. So I want to go 4.5 feet from this point right here. So I'm going to offset 4 feet 6. I don't need to put 6 inches in. Over and offset both those. Then I can trim them out. And voila. Now they look the same, and they actually are the same because one, except this is a polyline on the outside, and this is all individual lines. So you might want to, so I wouldn't have been able to offset this 4.5 feet. It wouldn't have worked because it's looking at a continuous line. So again, I could take this line and I could explode it, highlight the whole thing, EXPLODE, And now this is all individual lines just like this. Then I want you to take this rotate command up here, make sure your ortho is on, select one of the squares and rotate it. And that is the end of this assignment. Thank you.